Hi, from Crank It Up News, I'm Eric, and today we have with us Jim Price, who will be giving us the lowdown on team selections for March Smashness.
Hey Eric, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So, we are going to talk a little bit about statistics and how that played a role in our team selections from the bottom 32 all the way to the top seed.
Yeah, so just to recap, there are going to be 32 teams that will comprise the 64 factions that are in the game. And what I did is I asked a panel of 7 people, myself included, to rank all the teams from 1 to 32. I then took the average of all those numbers and see how they scored. The more points that someone had, the higher the seed they were going to be, all the way from 1 to 32. And then I also said, who is the top pick for everybody, who is the bottom pick for everybody, and what was the greatest deviation from the masses.
So on top of that, we also have some quotes from the other judges who had the largest deviation. Is that correct?
Yes. So the way that I got the largest deviation was I took a look at the average from everybody but a particular person, and I did that for everybody. Now there's going to be a deviation for everyone, but I wanted to see who was the largest deviation for each faction, and then I took the largest one that each person had. Some of them deviated a lot. One person, Kilvern, only deviated once. He's kind of the voice of reason. But the deviation he had was really surprising. I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Excellent. Are you ready to begin?
Yes, let's start with number 32.
Number 32, Kaiju Innsmouth. This is going to have a lot of locals play and actions from the Kaijus. Now, this is going to be Chucky Cookie's bottom pick, and this is what he had to say about it. My bottom pick was also relatively clear. Innsmouth are, without their Titan, one of the weaker factions. Kaijus are good and solid, but not great, although I find them very fun. And I don't see this combination being better than the sum of its parts, because no faction benefits greatly from the other. With only 2 play on base actions and no extra play actions, Innsmouth doesn't have much to offer that Kaijus helps. The best tools Innsmouth offer are extra minion plays, mostly depending on having minions with the same name. Kaijus barely have any minions and none with the same name. With a faction with only 3 minions and one that only has a combined minion power of 20 instead of 30, you're lacking a lot of power that, I think, the Kaiju actions won't make up for, because you run through the locals so fast. You're in danger of being starved off minions after the first 2 bases. If you don't get the cards to get them back at the right time, they don't work well together, and none of the factions is good enough to put the weight on their own, or pull the weight on their own. You don't see them working out against the many good combinations on the list. So that brings up the line 2 things. One, if a minion, or we're not using in the Titan kit packs, right?
Right. So every faction that has a Titan from the Titans event kit was evaluated without the Titan. If you were in the Big in Japan set, you obviously have a Titan and we can't take it out. But for factions like Innsmouth or Pirates or Fairies, there are no Titans other than the Big in Japan one.
So saying that this is the bottom pick, it's only going to get better from here on out.
I actually am going to agree and disagree with Chucky's Cookie here, because many of the points that he's bringing up, I completely agree with. I played this combo before. You can run out of minions fairly quickly. But if you happen to get your cards in the right order, this combo can surprise a lot of people. The Innsmouth have always been a multi-base attack for their strategy, and the Kaiju are perfect with that because they can reduce the breakpoint of several bases all at once. Also, the minions rarely have a minion. They really lack a minion to play, and the Kaiju really lack an action to play. So I feel like you're going to be playing cards every turn as long as you can keep your hand up to date.
Gotcha. So the minions for the Innsmouth and actions for the Kaiju.
Yep, let's get to number 31.
All right. Number 31, Vigilante Orcs. That sounds like it would be a great TV show.
This combo is actually a lot of fun. I like it a lot, but I'm also one of the people who didn't rate it very high, not because of them, but because I liked everybody else a lot more. One of the great things about the Orcs is that they have above average power, and the Vigilante are looking for minions of at least power 4. With the Sword Lord that can turn everybody with +1 power, that makes it really easy to be in the Vigilante range for Who Loves You Baby to get a massive card draw, because they want everyone to be at least 4 power or more. This is a very defensive-oriented faction because the Orcs don't like to be affected by other players' actions, and the Vigilantes don't like to be affected by other players' cards. They also both have unusual ways of dealing with other people, whether it's shuffling or placing on the bottom of the deck. I think this group will surprise a lot of people, but it's going to be interesting to see who they pair up against.
Indeed. Number 30, Magical Girl Pirates. Again, that could be a movie.
So you've actually played this faction against me. What did you think of them?
I thought it was very interesting. You're moving your people around. You can pull people out from the deep sea. They're a lot of fun. I think they have a lot of potential in a two-player game because their ability to, if you get an engine going, grinding up the other person's minions.
Yeah, I think the Magical Girls definitely need time. They do better in 2-player than in 4-player. And I think the Pirates also do better in 2-player because they have time to get out their first mates. I think there are a lot of advanced combos that are really interesting where you pile all your minions on one base and then you use the pirate movement to sell them off and hopefully get multiple bases in a single turn. I think that this faction could have some weaknesses, but I also think they have a lot of potential, and I'm excited to see how they do.
Indeed. Number 29, Dwarves Thieves. And actually, that is a movie. They took a book and split it into 3 parts. This was actually Kilburn's bottom pick. His quote is, "Dwarven thieves are all about treasures. They don't kill monsters, so they need time to run efficiently."
It's funny because this is kind of the natural pairing for the two. When you think dwarves and thieves, they both involve treasures, so it makes sense to pair them with the other that actually references treasures. And they can both be kind of self-contained, but they do work well with each other. It was too obvious a combination. It's something that people talk about all the time, so naturally it was one of the common ones that I wanted to pick. I don't have too much to say about this one because it's obviously going to be based on the order in which the treasures come out, and so that could be either really good or really bad, which is why they're probably so low on the list.
Gotcha. A lot of variables that you can't quite predict.
Exactly.
Number 28, Mage Warriors. That sounds interesting. Let's go with that.
So it's funny because this is just like Dwarf Thieves, where they both reference treasures and both these factions reference monsters. It's going to depend on what monsters come out because you don't have a lot of control over that. I think the mages often get overlooked because it's discarding cards. Why do you want to do that? But they have some interesting power, and the warriors with their monsters can really slow the base down and try and come up with an engine where I'm going to put up a bunch of monsters and make that base undesirable and then kill them all at once. And all of a sudden, open the base up for consumption. So again, it's a fairly common combo. A lot of people talk about it. There's not a lot that you can predict because of the randomness of the monsters that come out, but it's a tried and true faction, and it's interesting to see that it's literally next to Dwarf Thieves across 7 different people.
So how did this one barely make it above Dwarves Thieves? Or what were the margins? Do you know?
I don't know the margins off the top of my head, but you can see it on the bottom of your screen. I think it's because the mages tend to have a higher upside than dwarves and thieves. That's probably what carried them.
Excellent. Number 27, Spy Vikings. This could be really good at seeing what you're going to raid before you go raid it.
Exactly. One of the problems with the Vikings is that you don't necessarily know what you're going to get, and if the card that gets revealed falls outside your criteria, then you're not going to get anything. But the spies excel at looking at someone else's deck, so they'll have that advanced knowledge. You can set up your own deck, prepare your opponent's deck, and hopefully steal. One of the things about the Vikings is that they draw a lot of their strengths from what they're stealing, and obviously we can't know what opponents are going to be placing, but against the right faction, and if you can set your spies accordingly, you're going to be able to steal some powerful cards.
Excellent. Number 26, Mega Trooper Bear Cavalry. This is going to be especially hard to bear against.
So this is one of the later factions that got picked. Basically, the more factions that got picked, there were slimmer pickings at the end. These two, they don't necessarily have a ton of synergies, but they're both strong in their own right. I like how the Mega Troopers bring some much needed specials to the Bear Cavalry, and the Bear Cavalry can slow down the game moving people's minions off of bases, which gives the Mega Troopers more time to establish their engine. If they can get time, the Black Trooper can become really powerful because he gets +1 power for each special that's used, and given that nearly every Mega Trooper card says special, that could be a lot of power for a multi-base attack.
Excellent. Number 25, Superhero Sheep, Sarah's favorite. Just imagine little fluffy guys with capes.
What's funny about the superhero deck is that other than the burst, they have a surprising lack of superpowers. Like, I love the Flash. He's extremely fast and extremely mobile, but the superhero has virtually no movement in their deck. And I think the sheep will help with that. I think Little Bo Peep is also key to their sheep strategy, so being able to get that out immediately will pay a lot of dividends. I thought that the superheroes had a clear weakness with movement, And the sheep will provide that while adding in some other interesting opportunities. And I think the flock will also work really well with the burst. There's a lot to like about this combination.
Yeah, they're not that bad. Number 24, Steampunk Tricksters. That is going to be some awesome concept art.
I really like the Tricksters and the Steampunks together. I think the Tricksters get a little bit of a bad rap because their minions outside of Leprechaun aren't really that great, but they are known for their play on base actions that gives the Steampunks a lot of options. The Steampunks can get the power, the Tricksters can get the extra minion play. That's something that each faction lacks in the other, and I think that they'll really complement each other. I played this combo a lot on the app, and they do fairly well, so I'm surprised to see that they weren't exactly in the bottom, and they made their way a little bit up to the bottom third.
Absolutely, and the Steampunks is going to be able to help you just manage your play on bases a lot better than you would by themselves.
Exactly. I like the options, and I like the choices that people are going to have to make. Do I want to go for Agromotive, Rotary Slug Thrower, extra minion plays? There's no shortage of options with this combo.
And you can actually pull off your minion play and play down something else, correct?
Yeah, you could play the mechanic to bring out an extra minion because you grab the Shouting Mist, which can be another mechanic, which can be power. There could be some really quick swings on this one.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. 23. Halflings Minions of Cthulhu, which is a very interesting concept of the most benign creatures with the most terrible of evils.
So this is actually my greatest deviation. I think that, well, I know that I ranked this number 3, and that was well above anyone else, but I actually stand by this one. Now, the Halflings are one of your favorite factions.
Absolutely.
And I think that they're actually better than robots because they get card draw, they have a bunch of specials, they can really get an engine going. And I think that can carry the Minions of Cthulhu, which I'm normally not enamored with. But this faction actually has an infinite combo on the homeworld. Now, I don't think that base is going to come into play, but it shows you that there's a lot of potential there. I think the Minions of Cthulhu and their ability to recur several powerful halfling actions will be really good. And you can pick the right actions to get at the right time. And then the great thing about the halflings is that they can stay off a base entirely and then dump them all on at the last second. And I think that will be really good because you can go from no board presence to instant board presence, especially, literally breaking a base by yourself with Rude Awakening. So I'm excited to see how this goes. I played them before and they're really good, but I want to know who their opponent is to see if they could rise and shine.
Yeah, absolutely. I've done broke bases by myself with those in a large game, so that was a lot of fun.
And you can draw half your hand back because of the lunch runs. Like there's 2 copies of them. Play a minion, get 2 back. And then when you combine that with the fact that the Minions of Cthulhu have the card that say play a minion, get an extra action, I think it's altered to Cthulhu. It's like every time you play a minion, something really good happens, and the halflings just pile them on. It's insane. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. 22. Giant Ant Wizards, which is little giant ants with little hats on.
So one of the things about the Giant Ant Titan, which again is not going to be in this game, is that it gives you an extra action. And I've talked in the past about how important that extra action is to the Giant Ant strategy. Well, the Wizards have plenty of extra actions to work with. And even though they're both below average in terms of power, I think that you can quickly create a lot of power counters, position them accordingly, and the Wizards give you so much card draw and searching that the Giant Ants need. The Giant Ants can be hurt if they don't get their right cards out at the right time, but given that Wizards draw half their deck quickly, I think it's going to work out pretty well.
Yep, you're going to have card selection at a premium, and you're going to be able to set yourself up to break several bases at a time.
Yeah, if you can pull off that special combination, it is so satisfying. I love it. I've done it, you've done it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. 21. Cleric Killer Plants. So, like plants that bless you while they kill you?
Exactly. So I'm surprised that this one made it as high as it did. I think this is a really interesting concept because the killer plants are known for running out of minions and burning through their deck too quickly. The clerics can regenerate your hand and pull from your discard pile, so it seems like a really natural combination. The only problem is, I'm not sure that the killer plants outside of Overgrowth and maybe a couple of other cards have the best cards that you want to get back because their minions are going to be a little underwhelming. However, it is funny that the Holy Roller can shuffle in the very minion that the next sprout is going to get, so that way you'll constantly have things in your deck.
and the clerics will let you manage your discard pile. I think, depending on who their opponent is, this one could actually surprise people. But other people felt a lot more strongly about them than I did.
Gotcha. So maybe a possible upset, depending on what they're placed against. Number 20, Miskatonic University Star Roamers. So Scooby-Doo in space.
I'm surprised that this one is as high as it was. I think that there's some things I like. I like that the Star Roamers can help persist your engine with your professor, and the Miskatonic and the Star Roamers both offer a lot of versatility, but I don't see an actual game plan with them. I played this combination before, and I won with them, mostly because I had a ninja base that was perfect for the Star Roamers moving. The movement card, Hyperspeed IO, that moves a ton of minions from one base to another, but that's not likely going to happen because there's not many ninja bases. But other people felt really strongly about it. I think they just like the versatility and being prepared for anything that the two will provide, and there is a good engine there. I don't necessarily see it all the time because the Miskatonic universities don't really have a lot of wow minions, like I'm going to play a ton of power all at once. They really are just more kind of self-sufficient based on playing minions overall. So it can go either way. I'm interested to see how it does in a tournament setting, and I played them before and won, so they could win again.
So the strength of this faction or pair up could be on the layout of the cards of which ones come out at what time, right?
Yeah, that's the same. That's always going to be true of the Star Roamers. They're a little bit top heavy, where if you don't get your 4s and your 5, you're going to have a lot of problems. And one of the reasons why I positioned them together initially was the Miskatonic University had Field Trip, which lets you put a bunch of cards on the bottom of your deck and draw an equal number of cards so that you can hunt for the specific cards that you're looking for.
Number 19, Zombies Vampires. The undead suck to play against.
Yeah, I'm never going to trust vampires, which is why this is my number 32 pick.
Well, this was Smash Up Savant's greatest deviation. He put this at number 3. He says, zombies are far and away one of the strongest factions in Smash Up. Vampires, without their Titan, is one of the weakest. The drawback of destroying your own minions with vampires is mitigated by cards like Tenacious Z, repeatedly coming back from the discard pile. The top 3 spot may be a little generous, but I definitely wouldn't put it on the bottom half of the rankings, which, ironically, it is where it's placed.
Well, I agree with him that zombies are strong, but one of the things about the zombies is that they repeat the strength of the faction that they're paired with, which the vampires are lacking. When I look at this combination, I don't think that zombies make vampires a whole lot better. Yes, the heavy drinker gets stronger, but it's not really saving a whole lot. You're really only saving 2 power. I think that there's plenty of other factions that I would take with the zombies beforehand. And even though it seems like a natural pairing and that the vampires also have a little bit of recursion like the zombies do, I'm not wowed by this faction, and I stand by my number 32 pick.
Gotcha, and there's a lot more stronger factions out there.
Yeah, this is the one. This is the one I was least excited about. I could play vampires with other pairings, but this isn't one of them.
Number 18, Explorer Kittens. Indiana Jones and the Litter Box of Doom. This was Sonus' top pick, actually. He says, my number 1 pick of Explorer's Kittens is for a few reasons. First, I think destruction is OP. And number 2, the cats destroy and take stuff away and have good specials. Explorers also have really good specials, but also have time to set up guide plays, which are really strong in number 2, in 2-player games. I feel like they will have a good setup and good enough control to do anything they want.
So I agree with a lot of what he's saying. I don't necessarily think that destruction is overpowered in 2-player, but it's very good. But he's right that the explorers need time in order to facilitate their big plays, and the kittens will give you that time, and they'll give the card draw because the explorers want the card draw. I also think that stealing other players' minions makes Idaho Smith a lot more efficient because it's 1 less minion that you need to go for. So you let someone pile on a base, then you take everyone off, and you take control of them. And I think that's going to work out really well. I've actually seen this combo work, and it will win more often than it won't.
Number 17, Changerbot Cowboys. So imagine Optimus Prime and Megatron dueling at high noon.
Now, you know me, I have no love for the Changerbots, but I actually do like this combo. And not just because I think the Cowboys are really strong. I think that Leader 2 has the rare talent that actually makes sense to do multiple turns with adding +2 power, because it's something you can do before initiating a duel to guarantee that you'll win. and it's free, just +2 power, then initiate a duel. The Cowboys have a lot of good outcomes that will come from that, and I think that these just have above average power. They have minions that can't necessarily be destroyed, so even if you lose the duel, you get a consolation prize, plus the ability to bump up easily in power. There's a lot that I like about this combination.
Excellent. Well, that concludes our part 1 of the selection teams.
So now we're going to go to number 16 through 1, and these are the top half factions. I'm really excited about it.
All right. Thank you for joining us. I'm Eric, and let's shut it down.